It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha. Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Welcome to the Brouhaha, y'all. Dale and I hope you're all doing well out there in radio land. Dale, how's it going today? Big Easter at the McKees this weekend. Did you see the Easter bunny?
No, I saw a lot of rain.
A lot of rain.
A lot of rain.
All right. Did the eggs run, or did they stay in there, stay put?
No, we're not a big egg people.
You're not big egg people?
Chocolate candy. Bunny rabbits.
Hey, you can't go wrong. You can't
Bunny
go wrong
rabbits,
with chocolate bunny rabbits, buddy. I guarantee you.
There you go.
Listen, tell us about. Well, we'll come back to it in a minute. First of all, I'm gonna start at the beginning. And we hit this last week, and I think it's something that we need to incorporate into our discussion a little more than we do, and that's your sideline view. I read that on a weekly basis, and I post it, you post it, and it goes out to 40-some-odd newspapers, and I'm kind of looking at a recap here, kind of just share some of the highlights with you in your Dale sideline view this week. I know baseball is what you started out with, and I got to say this thing right out of the bat. We talking Golden Eagles. How about them Eagles, son, playing this baseball?
Yeah, they were up to number 6 in the country yesterday in the poll, And so I didn't get to put that in my article because I write my article on Sunday night, but it comes out on Monday. So yesterday they were up to number 6 in the nation. I might have read this in your writing, or I might have read it somewhere else, was that if it was to end right now, where they are, they'd been a place to host a region and a super region. Did you write that, or did I did.
Yeah. Well, you're doing a good job.
Well, I mean the top 8 seeds in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
And going into this weekend, as of Sunday, they were number 9 nationally in their RPI, which means that they only have to climb one, and they probably did. But the thing that benefits this is strong, because I saw this on a post that I had. Southern Miss said, come on, Ole Miss and State, keep winning. Because their RPI is based on their opponent's strength.
Yes.
So if State and Ole Miss would keep winning, and since Southern's beat State, and they still have to play Ole Miss, they'll.
I thought they'd played Ole Miss. I was wrong.
No, they played Mississippi State in Jackson.
Okay. All right.
And so they're going to play Ole Miss in, I believe it's May the 11th in Hattiesburg.
Oh boy.
And so I'm sure there'll be a big crowd there, but Southern Miss, they just keep winning. And, people can say, well, the USA Conference is not that strong and everything. But I'm going to tell you what, they've got an SEC-type pitching staff.
Yeah.
And that means a lot. Their number 3 guy throws 97.
That's smoking.
So, that's bringing it.
Yeah.
So, they've got an excellent program down there. Got a great head coach and a great pitching coach.
Yeah.
Coach Barry's the head coach, and he's been there a long time, about 15 years or so. And then Coach, they call him the Wizard of Oz, Coach Oz. He was at Jones Junior College for a long time, rebuilt that program into a powerhouse that they, and are still working off his formula. But Coach Oz, I talked to him one time, and his philosophy is just, he tells the pitchers, don't back down from those hitters. You just throw strikes.
Just throw strikes, baby. Just do it.
Yep.
Anything else out of your sideline view you want to share with us past the baseball?
Well, we got a big weekend in Oxford this weekend. Ole Miss and State start Thursday, a 3-game set, and that's going to determine a lot. Well,
one of the two Southerns wanting to get some wins is going to get some wins out of that one.
Yep. And then, of course, they have this weekend Farm League baseball. I'm going to say minor league baseball. Our 2 Mississippi minor league teams, which is very unique for a state our size to have 2 minor league teams. But we have one in Biloxi called the Shuckers.
They're doing pretty good, aren't they?
Yeah, they're like 8-1.
Oh,
And they beat the Mississippi Braves 5 out of 6. What's unique about the Southern League is you go in and you play Tuesday through Sunday. Then you take Monday off and you go somewhere else. Or you come home.
That's working,
So
isn't it?
you play the same team 6 times.
Oh.
So that's kind of the way it goes.
Okay.
And it saves on travel and all that kind of stuff. But another interesting thing I had in my column this week is they got a pro football league going on right now, spring ball.
Yeah. I had some notes to talk about that in our final segment tonight. And let's come back to that in our final segment. But before we take the break, tell us about our guest that you've got for us tonight, Dale.
All right, we have Danny Smith. He's a longtime sports editor at the Starkville Daily News, and he's going to talk all about Mississippi State. Football, basketball, baseball, anything you want to know about Mississippi State, this man knows.
Well, we in the right spot. You done it again. Sound like good stuff is on the way, and we will get right to it. But first, let's hear from our sponsor, then Dale and I and our guest, Danny Smith. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome to the show, Danny Smith. How you doing today, Danny?
Good, doing good, guys. Appreciate you having me on and share a little bit about Mississippi State sports.
Well, we told all our listeners in our pregame program before you came on all about you, and as far as your, But how long have you been writing sports in Starkville?
Well, I've been in the Golden Triangle area, which includes West Point, Columbus, for about between 35, 40 years, and I've been the sports editor here at the Starkville Daily since about 2010. So. But I've been around a little while.
You sound like it. Well, let me ask you something. Our main interest today on the show is talking about a little bit about Bulldog football since they're in the middle of spring training. But let's touch on two subjects that some of our listeners might want to know about. Tell us about what's your opinion of the basketball hires? Did they need to be made?
Well, it was probably time in both areas. Both the men's and the women's situations were kind of unique in the way where the women had an interim coach who was just kind of bridging the gap from Coach McCray, who unfortunately had her sickness or cancer come back on her, and she felt like she had to step down. The guy, Doug Novak, who was the interim coach, did a halfway decent job of keeping that program together under really tough circumstances with only 7 or 8 players available for games at a time, but I think the thought from the administration was that they wanted to go ahead and get a guy in that they felt like would be good for the long haul. So they hired Sam Purcell, the assistant coach, really the right hand man for the Louisville coach up there at Louisville, and of course Louisville made a run to the Final Four. So they got him to come in, and I tell you what, the first impressions of that guy on his he won the press conference because he came in and said all the right things. And, it's not a surprise to me why everybody considers him to be a good recruiter, because he really talks a good game and seems like he's going to be really, really a good person to get some fine recruits. He's already hit the ground running. He pretty much committed to seeing Louisville through to the end, but he was kind of working both. He would fly back and forth from Louisville to Starkville to get the foundation laid for his Mississippi State program, and he got his staff in order. He's already got a couple of commits from some girls. Of course, there's always some attrition. There's some girls that are leaving as well. But I'm liking the girls that he's able to retain. Anastasia Hayes, the girl last year who was all SEC and had some big scoring nights, especially after Christmas in the SEC. She announced she was coming back, and he's kind of building around her with some players. He's bringing a girl from Louisville with him, and he's got some other commits coming in. So I think the women's program is going to be in good shape. And as far as the men, I liked Ben Howland. I thought he was a really great guy, really nice to the media, really was fun to work with. But, just kind of, he just couldn't never really win the big one, so to speak. He had some postseason appearances. He went to the NCAA tournament once, and that really just wasn't enough for this program. They wanted to take the next step, and they felt like getting Chris Jens from New Mexico State is a guy that, even though it's in a different conference and out west, he was making NCAA appearances and winning some conference championships. And neither search took very long, but John Cohen identified who he wanted, and the search committee did all of their homework in a quick amount of time. And I believe they got two really good hires. I'm really looking forward to seeing what both of them can do with the men's and the women's programs. It's going to be exciting for basketball. And plus the renovations they're doing at Humphrey Coliseum, I think things are looking up for basketball in Starkville.
Yeah, I think they made a great hire on both hires. You know, sometimes if there's somebody better out there than what you have, then you just have to make that call whether you want to or not.
Right.
Okay, so let's talk about baseball. It's really hard defending a championship in any sport.
No, sure.
Except if you're in Alabama, you know, but in football. But tell us about what your impressions are of state up to now. Will they improve going down the road for this year? I mean,
yeah, you know, it's going to be a situation where they're taking baby steps, and that is kind of hard to say when you're a defending national champion. But I really think that losing Tanner Allen and Rowdy Jordan at the top of that lineup was really more of a blow than they were willing to let on at first. They were just two really good leaders that really got things going at the top of that lineup, and I don't think they've really ever, recovered from that. They've got some great hitters. Now, don't get me wrong; they've got some great hitters that have come back from that national championship team, like Logan Tanner, Luke Hancock, and several others. Cameron James, just to name three of them that had the most experience. But not having those two guys at the top of that order is it just kind of throws a monkey wrench in the operation. Like saying it or not, it's just been hard to recover from that, and they've been just trying to kind of feel their way through the season. I believe they are getting better. The pitching staff, they've really had a struggle on the back end, and as far as closing out games, Landon Sims, last year's closer, they tried to make a starter out of him this year. I didn't mind that move. But, when he went down with that torn ligament in his elbow and had Tommy John, then they didn't have a starter or a closer. And they were trying to figure that part of it out. And they had a new rotation for the first time in the Auburn series. Started Brandon Smith on Friday, Preston Johnson on Saturday, who pitched really well, by the way. And they got a young man by the name of Cade Smith in the third spot. He's been pretty much the third guy all season long. And I believe that rotation is probably the best way to move forward. They all three pitch really well in the starting role. They just got to kind of figure out the bullpen. And if they can do that, they'll be doing fine. Taking 2 out of 3 from Auburn was good. Wish they could have got that third one. It would kind of made up for being swept by LSU the previous week. But this weekend, or actually Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they go to Oxford and play Ole Miss. And that's a huge series, not just because of the rivalry aspect, but both of them are trying to get out of that cellar in the West. And the team that wins that series will make a huge step toward a possible postseason somewhere.
This may be off the subject for just a second, but do you remember the last time Ole Miss or State's been in last place in the SEC West in baseball? It's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, I can't recall just right off my memory. I know that Mississippi State had some struggles early in the John Cohen years, right after Ron Polk retired, and they had some pretty bad teams. And that may have been the last time. I don't know for sure. But and Ole Miss, Bianco up there has always seemed to have them at least in the middle of the pack or higher. I can't remember the last time they've had a season like this, and it's funny to think about. Only a few weeks ago, they were number 1 team in the country, and now they're in last place in the SEC West. That just shows you how quickly something can change.
Wow.
That's true. All right, well, let's get to football for a minute. Tell us about the game Saturday.
Let's hear about this game.
I want to hear about the spring game Saturday.
The song "Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head." We have a lot of them on Saturday. It was very depressing that Super Bowl all weekend. The kind of the spring homecoming for Mississippi State was was drenched with rain pretty much Friday and Saturday. They got all the baseball in. They had to shuffle some things around, but unfortunately the football game was just canceled altogether after 2 hours of trying to wait it out. But the lightning and the thunder just wouldn't subside enough. They would have played in the rain, I believe, but they just couldn't get them out there with that lightning popping like it was at times. And, they got out there and they stretched for about 5 minutes, and then a lightning bolt hit, and they chased them back inside. And then after about 2 hours, they came over the speaker and said that they had decided to move indoors at the Palmyra, and the Palmyra was so confined as far as space that they didn't let anybody in for it. Just turned out to be just a practice and didn't really have a scrimmage, I don't think. So it was kind of disappointing there, but they did have a scrimmage the week before, and we were able to see a little bit of things from that. It's really hard, even in a scrimmage situation, to get a good gauge on how good or bad a team is going to be. But I know that, they're trying to make up for some losses, especially on the offensive line with Charles Cross, who's going to be possibly even as high as a number 3 draft pick in the NFL draft this week. As I've heard some people say he could be as high as number 3, which would be incredible. He's really a talented tackle, and losing him is going to be a big loss. Right now, Leach and his offensive staff are trying to piece some things together up front with what they've got left, and he says he likes to have about 10 guys deep that he'd like to put up there any time. And by now he's probably about 7 or 8. He's thinking that he would really belong to put in the game at any time. So he's trying to figure that out. Along as they've got Will Rogers back, quarterback, who has set all kind of records last year. He'll be back, and he's going to be missing one of his receivers, and Mekhi Polk is going to try and go in the NFL as well. He's going to leave early, but he's got Jaden Wally and Austin Williams and some of the other guys back that he's played with for a couple of years. So hopefully that offense will keep trending in the right direction. They took a major step last year, putting up some big numbers, and I know they want to just continue the same next year. In defense, I believe the defense is going to be better. They were flying around the football and making plays. There was one touchdown toward the end of that scrimmage over a week ago now, where they scored on defensive touchdown, a scoop and score on fumble, and they were hitting, flying around. So I believe the defense will continue to make some steps too.
How do you make up for like 100-something catches by Polk? I mean, is it going to be by committee, or do they think you got? Well,
from what I'm seeing right now this spring, it definitely looks like they're going to try to do that. They wanted to, Wally, he disappeared a lot last year after having a pretty good year 2 years ago. So I think he'll probably reemerge, so to speak, in this offense. And there's some other guys, some other young receivers that they brought in that might get some catches. And the boy from Starville, Rufus Harvey's had a good spring up to this point. And I know from seeing him in high school what kind of impact he can make. So I think, by committee, possibly. I don't think you'll probably see numbers from one guy like you did with Polk. Wally could be that guy, but I think it will be several guys making catches and doing things. I really think that's what Leach would rather have. He doesn't want to be too predictable and go to just one guy. I think he wants to spread it around, so with a lot of different guys getting open, making catches, and making things happen.
Yes. Now, listen, of course, we've been around the sport long enough, and we know how important the offensive line is, but how about if they cannot find a replacement for a Charlie Cross or that? How will that affect Will Rogers?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's definitely a concern. It's something that in the spring, the number ones that pretty much kept Will pretty clean. But when Sawyer Robinson came in with the number 2s, he's had to run around a little bit and show his athletic ability. He's known for throwing the football, but he's shown that he can be a little nifty with his feet too. So I know you don't want your quarterback running a lot of times. You just want him to concentrate on sitting back there and throwing the football and getting some pass protection. So that's and Leach has pretty much made it clear that offensive line is the most important aspect of the air raid offense. If you can't protect the quarterback, give him time to throw that football, then it's going to throw the whole thing out of whack. So it's something they're working on, and will it be totally fixed by the fall? I really can't say. But right now they're trying to figure out some things up front.
Do you think there'll be any high school recruits or this transfer that's coming in that will make an impact this year for the Bulldogs? I mean, like start a position?
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be starters. Leach really doesn't. He'll talk to us about individual players, but he really doesn't heap a whole lot of praise on people until they actually get out there and perform. He just kind of talks to them in general terms and saying they all need to be more consistent. That's his big word is consistency. When he sees consistency out of a player, then they get more reps and get more time out there. So until he sees that, he's really not going to say a whole lot about anybody. But just from what I've observed in practice to this point, I haven't seen a whole lot of the actual practice except for the one scrimmage all the way through. But it just seems like there's just going to be a lot of different players contributing in certain ways. Not that there be any kind of star emerge, unless it's Will Rogers throwing for 4,000 yards again and distributing the ball to everybody. I just think it's a work in progress still. And I know it's hard to say when you're a head coach that's entering his third year. Of course, the first year, we all know it wasn't just at Mississippi State, but all across the country. You could pretty much just wash that year because that was just being COVID, coming out of the COVID. The pandemic was at its peak, or during that summer and fall, and it just wasn't fair to anybody. So You can't really count that year at all because you just really couldn't really do anything. It was just unfortunate that they even had to go through that kind of year. But the last 2 years, last year was an improvement for Mississippi State, and I kind of expect the players that have been in this system now will take that next step. And I think things will be better. I believe they will be, and we'll just kind of see where this direction goes.
All right, and wrapping up, I got 3 final questions. You can, go through them really fast. Who might emerge as a backup quarterback to Will? Who is going to be? Are they going to have any running backs as far as that's coming in that can play, or do they have anybody returning? And is Leach going to have to do the field goal kicking this year?
He joked with us after the scrimmage and said if he had any eligibility left last year, he would certainly gone out there and tried it. So, he signed some transfers and he's got some guys in there that he said were better. So, looking forward to seeing it if that's the case. Hopefully, they won't have to hold any tryouts like they tried to do last year. So, Sawyer Robinson looks like he's going to be the backup, or at least coming out of the spring. But Braden Locke, the transfer coming in, he's got some good traits to him as well. So I think Sawyer right now is the number 2. At least that's the way he's been running in practice in that scrimmage. And running back situation, they've still got Woody Marks, Dylan Johnson, the 2 veterans who have been there for 2 years now. And, you're just not going to take the ball, handed it off in a lot of situations in this offense, but they're going to catch a lot of passes. Dylan Johnson will probably get more carries than Woody, but Woody's probably a better pass receiver. So, but expect those 2 guys to continue to get some reps in this offense, and they do have some young guys coming in that they're trying to work in slowly but surely. But you can look for those 2 guys to still get the bulk of the action.
Well, Danny, this is Marshall, and I've enjoyed listening to you go today. We appreciate, Dale and I really appreciate you coming. But my job is to say when the time's up, and the time is time's up.
Well, I can get to rambling, so hopefully something that I said will stick, and y'all will benefit from something that I said.
Well, listen, we have, and our listeners will too, and we appreciate you. And I tell you what, you can expect to hear from us again. So we thank you.
Sounds good.
All righty.
Well, I'll be glad to help anytime I can.
Thank you so much.
We
appreciate you being here. Have a good day, sir.
Uh-huh.
All righty.
You too. Bye-bye.
Yes, sir. Well, folks, we're going to take a break. We appreciate that, Dale. We'll talk about the interview when we get back. But let's take a break here from a sponsor. We'll come back to wrap this thing up in a couple of minutes.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back, everyone. Dale, I really enjoyed talking to Dan. Like you said, he knows about all there is to know about Mississippi State and sports up there. That was a really good interview. Anything you want to follow up on or mention about that before we move on to some more exciting stuff on tonight's Brouhaha?
Hey, I think it's. I think Danny has, touched on everything that we needed to know about Mississippi State, and he was, he told us his thoughts, and he didn't hide back from any questions that we gave him. He gave us his true thoughts on, what needed to be done in the basketball, and he told us really what the main clog was, or the main weakness in Mississippi State baseball is they lost their top two hitters. Tanner Allen and Rowdy,
Yeah.
And those guys,
I hadn't thought about that.
Once he mentioned it, that's what I said. That's what's lacking, because those guys had so much energy, especially when they went to the World Series.
Yeah.
Even in the regionals, super regionals, when they were playing up there, those guys got them started. And you can lack that in a team. That guy that pushes everybody's button to want them to play better.
Yeah.
Those are called leaders, I think.
Leaders?
Leaders.
Leaders.
Yes, sir.
I've known a few of those.
There you go.
Yes, sir. Okay. Listen, you had got off on this. We were talking about your sideline view, and you were just fixing to take off into this summer league, that we're talking about, and the USFL. Now, we're talking USFL. When I hear that, I go back to there was a USFL before. Is this the same? Basically the same organization or something new?
I'm not sure, but they got the same names.
Yeah.
Like New Orleans called the Breakers, Philadelphia's called the Stars.
The Generals, New Jersey.
And Houston Gamblers. Jim Kelly used to play for the Houston Gamblers.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if Pittsburgh had a team back in those days, but they have one now. But there's only 8 teams, and they play all their games in Birmingham on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And they're all going to be televised, and the city of Birmingham gets like 2 free ads for every ball game. Show it. They're playing in the new, basically UAB football stadium called Protective Stadium, and so I just think it's a unique concept. But the teams there are housed for the whole week. They practice there. So it's like the Pittsburgh team, Philadelphia. They all stay in the same hotel. I was told. And they're just, they go to practice, and each team probably goes different places for practice. But, I think it's only going to be an 8-game league. But, they've got 2 former Ole Miss quarterbacks who were teammates at one time, Shea Patterson and Jordan Tamaya, I believe that was his name.
You did as good as I could do.
Yeah. Anyway, Shea's playing for Michigan. That's where, he went to college, University of Michigan. And Jordan, who is from Hawaii, is playing for Tampa Bay. So, he's, of course, he got to Ole Miss through some junior college in New Mexico.
Yeah.
So I just think it's interesting. But I've watched a little bit of the Saturday night game. And the guy that played quarterback against Wayne County years ago,
J. Mar Smith. I'm going to tell you something about that guy. I remember the first time I laid eyes on him. We were up there playing at Meridian, Ray Stadium, and we were winning that ball game. And they had a little quarterback. They put this freshman quarterback in there, and when he stepped foot on that field, he looked like a full-grown man, and he played like one. And he hadn't quit since. What a great football player. Tell us about what he did yesterday.
Well, he came in off the bench and scored a winning touchdown with 29 seconds. He led his team down, score, and they won 28-24. Now, his dad played at Alabama, was a great defensive tackle. And I'm trying to think, he played his college football at Louisiana Tech for 4 years.
J-Mar did?
Under Skip Holtz, who is his head coach now.
Oh.
And so he's... But anyway, they had announced crowd of 17,000 there, but they sold or distributed over 40,000, but the weather got them.
Yeah.
And they actually had to cancel Sunday nights. You know, they had that game on Saturday, and Sunday they came back with 3 games.
Yeah.
And they're all over the TV. One's NBC, one of them may be Fox, you know, everywhere it is. But the Sunday night game, they finally had to cancel, or they're going to play it tonight.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, it's good now. Am I going to sit there and watch every game? No. But, you know, if there's nothing on TV I like, hey, flip over and watch the ball game, you know.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way it is.
You know, we're about out of time. There was the USFL we talked about. It was before. It had a pretty good run. If there's been another league in professional football that's come close, it was close.
Yes.
To really getting over the hump. Maybe this one will be the one that gets over the hump.
Well, the NFL really benefited from that USFL because remember what Herschel said. The USFL made him a better player.
Yeah.
They let him return punts. They let him catch passes. Yeah. Jim Kelly was playing for Houston. Steve Young was playing for Los Angeles. I mean, do you remember some of those core? I mean, those guys made it.
We had a guy. Yeah. That was a lot of fun, and I'd forgotten about what Herschel said about that, but it did made them better football players. Mm-hmm. Well, listen, I hate to say this, but our time's come and gone for now. But listen, folks, Dale and I plan to be back next week for more of the Brouhaha with another guest and a variety of sports-related topics. Remember to follow us on Facebook and YouTube at the Brouhaha. And Dale and I are going to see you next week, same time, same channel. But now it's time to say goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, Dale. Hey, Mom.
There you go, and we'll see y'all next week for more of the Brouhaha. Take us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.